It all began with a song. Sara Bluma, the young Italian singer who once captured the attention of Europe with her soft, nostalgic melodies, suddenly released a new track, without any promotion, without warning, without even posting a teaser. The song dropped at midnight, and its title alone sent her followers into a frenzy, Viaondi. For most people, it sounded like a poetic reference to one of Rome's most famous streets. But for those who had followed the emotional story between Sara and Yaman, it meant something much deeper. Viaondi was where Ken was last seen before disappearing from public view for nearly 2 weeks. It was the same place where paparazzi once photographed him waiting in silence, his phone in hand, staring at the door of a luxury boutique. When fans listened closely to Sara's lyrics, they froze. The verses spoke of a man lost between pride and fear, of a phone that never rang, and of a voice that promised forever but vanished in the rain. The tone was intimate. Personal. Almost too specific. Within hours, Italian gossip pages exploded. Is Sara Bluma singing about Yaman? Is this the hidden confession behind their rumored fallout? Did the Rome mystery finally get an answer through her music? Even Can's closest followers noticed something unusual. Just hours after the song was released, Can reposted an old black and white photo on his Instagram story. It showed a quiet corner of Rome, rain on the cobblestones, and the caption, "Some things never leave you." Was it coincidence? Or was it his way of answering Sara through silence? The story began to spread like wildfire. Italian media outlets, fan pages, and even international entertainment channels started replaying the song, dissecting every lyric, searching for clues. What did Sara mean by "the city that hides what hearts cannot say"? Why did she mention "the man who runs, but not from me"? As the theories multiplied, one thing became clear: this was no ordinary song. It was a message, and perhaps, a key to understanding what really happened between Sara Bluma and Yaman in Rome. After Sara's song Viaondi went viral, everyone waited for one thing: Yaman's reaction. For a man who usually keeps his emotions locked behind a wall of discipline and mystery, even a single emoji could have been a storm. But instead of denying, commenting, or even liking anything, he did something far more powerful: he stayed silent. That silence drove fans insane. The Italian tabloids filled the gap with endless speculation. He's hurt. He's guilty. He's protecting someone. Each theory painted a different version of the man people thought they knew. Some said Ken had already moved on, that Sara's song was a desperate attempt to reach him. Others believed it was his silence that proved how much the song had shaken him. Days passed, yet Ken kept posting pictures that seemed to speak without words. A shot of a piano. A lonely coffee cup. Then, a blurred view of the Roman skyline, taken from his balcony at sunset, captioned only with a single heart emoji. For fans who had followed the couple's rumored connection since last summer, it was impossible not to notice the pattern. The timing, the imagery, the emotion, everything felt like an unspoken dialogue between two souls who had once shared something real. Meanwhile, Sara avoided every direct question about Ken during her radio interviews. When asked about the song, she simply smiled and said, "Every artist writes from a place of truth. Some truths just take longer to be heard." Those words made headlines instantly. Entertainment portals described them as an indirect confession, while others claimed Sara was still emotionally tied to the Turkish star who had become Italy's obsession. But behind the public spectacle, something more complex was happening. Sources close to Sara revealed that the song was written months ago, during a period when she was struggling emotionally. A close friend even said, she used to play that melody over and over in her studio, late at night. It wasn't just about love, it was about a goodbye that never really happened. And that's exactly what fans felt. Viaondi wasn't a breakup song. It was a haunting memory, an echo of a love that got lost between fame, distance, and pride. At this point, the mystery deepened. Paparazzi began following both Sara and Ken across Rome, trying to capture any possible reunion. And then, one evening, an unexpected event reignited the fire. A video appeared on social media, blurry, filmed from across the street, showing Yaman walking past the same cafe where Sara had filmed part of her music video. He looked distracted, dressed in black, wearing sunglasses even though it was almost dusk. Was he revisiting the place where it all began? Nobody knew for sure. But as the clip spread, one thing was certain: the silence between them was starting to speak. It happened on a quiet Tuesday night. Rome was half asleep, the streets glistening after an early autumn rain. Around 11:40 p.m., a single paparazzo stationed near Piazza di Spagna noticed a familiar silhouette crossing the square. It was Yaman, dressed in a black leather jacket, hood pulled low. He wasn't with friends or bodyguards, he was alone. Moments later, another figure appeared from a side street. Small frame, long coat, a scarf wrapped tight around her neck, Sara Bluma. They didn't meet directly under the streetlight, but their paths crossed. For a brief second, the camera caught the reflection of her face as she looked up, and the air seemed to freeze. No one knows if they exchanged words. No one heard what was said. But that one frame, two people facing each other in the heart of Rome, was enough to send Italy into chaos. By morning, every entertainment outlet had the photo. Reunion in the rain. Sara and Ken in the same place again. Viaondi comes to life. It became a frenzy. But what the public didn't know was that this wasn't the first time their paths had quietly crossed since their rumored breakup. According to insiders, Ken had visited the same recording studio where Sara worked, just a few weeks before the release of Viaondi. No cameras were there, no official statement was made, only a brief note in the studio's visitor log: "See Yaman, private session." What was he doing there? Some claimed he was recording a voice note for a charity project. Others whispered that he had come to hear Sara's song before the world did, and that his silence afterward was a choice, not an accident. The same night that photo was taken, fans noticed something subtle online. Sara's Spotify profile updated with a new hidden playlist titled For Rome. Only a few songs were visible, all about distance, forgiveness, and unfinished love. One of them was an unreleased demo, simply labeled, "Letter." The lyrics, later leaked by a journalist, were haunting. "I waited by the river / where promises turned to echoes / and I sang so you would hear me / even if you never came back." That line hit fans like lightning. It connected every day. The silence, the longing, the mysterious appearances in Rome. It was clear now that something profound had happened between them, something the public was only beginning to understand. When asked later about the viral photo, Ken gave a rare response during a charity event in Milan. A journalist asked directly, "Ken, was that you with Sara in Rome?" He smiled faintly, paused for a long moment, and simply said, "Sometimes, closure doesn't come from words." And that was it. No confirmation, no denial, just another carefully crafted silence that somehow said everything. The mystery of Rome had deepened, and Viaondi was no longer just a song. It had become a confession in melody, and Ken's quiet reactions only made it more powerful. After the photo in Rome spread across every major Italian tabloid, the internet split into two camps. Some believed the moment symbolized forgiveness, a quiet reunion between two people who had shared something deeper than the public ever knew. Others saw it as a final goodbye, a chapter closing under the dim lights of a Roman night. But then came the twist that no one expected. A few days later, during a live interview on a popular TV show, the host played a short clip from Viaondi and asked Sara the question that had been haunting everyone: "Is this song really about Yaman?" The studio fell silent. Sara smiled faintly, that same unreadable smile she always wore when hiding something real. And then, instead of denying it, she whispered, "Some songs are written for those who will never hear them again." That sentence broke the internet. Fans flooded the comments section with emotional messages, dissecting every word. She still loves him. She's saying goodbye. She's talking about that night in Rome. Meanwhile, Ken had just returned from filming in Sicily. When he arrived at the airport, the cameras were already waiting. He looked exhausted, eyes hidden behind dark glasses, yet his expression carried something different, not anger, not pride, but quiet sadness. One reporter shouted, "Can. Did you see Sara's interview?" He stopped for half a second, turned his head slightly, and muttered, "Maybe I did." That 2-second clip went viral within hours. Then something unexpected happened on Instagram. Sara posted a black screen on her story, no caption, no tag, only a single audio clip playing softly in the background, the sound of rain hitting the pavement. Just an hour later, Kim posted a story of his own. A quote, in white letters on a dark background, "Some songs never end, they just fade where the heart still listens." The entire internet lost its mind. Fans started pairing their stories side by side, analyzing timestamps, matching emotions, creating theories. To them, it was clear, they were speaking to each other again, not with words, but through emotion, music, and memory. But not everyone saw it as romantic. Some sources close to Ken suggested that the Rome meeting reopened wounds he had fought hard to close. One insider told She magazine he was deeply moved by that encounter. But it also reminded him of the distance between them, not physical, but emotional. They are two worlds that no longer meet. And yet, destiny seemed unwilling to let go. During a gala event in Milan, where Ken was being honored for his charity work, the band unexpectedly played a soft instrumental version of Via Condati as he walked onto the stage. The crowd applauded, unaware of the hidden tension behind that melody. For a moment, he froze. His jaw tightened, his eyes glistened, and though he quickly regained composure, the cameras caught that split second where the mask slipped. It was raw. It was real. And it told the world what his words never could. That night, Ken left the event early, refusing interviews. Later, a single post appeared on his feed, a candle in the dark, captioned, "Some things are better left between the soul and the silence." To millions of fans, that was the moment they understood, whatever happened in Rome wasn't just a coincidence. It was closure, pain, and love all tangled together in a story only they would ever fully understand. Weeks passed. The chaos faded. The headlines moved on to new scandals, new romances, new faces. But Via Condati remained, quietly climbing the charts, echoing through cafes, radios, and late-night drives all across Italy. What began as a mysterious song had turned into a cultural whisper, a melody that everyone could feel but few could truly understand. Sara Bluma stopped doing interviews. She disappeared from social media, choosing silence over spectacle. Her last post was a simple image of the Tiber River at dawn. The caption read, "Every story has its own rhythm. Mine finally found peace." Fans sensed it immediately, this was closure. But not the kind written in words or shouted through microphones. This was the kind that only two hearts could share in private, long after the noise faded. Meanwhile, Ken returned to work. He began filming a new series in Croatia, focusing completely on his craft. Reporters noticed how much calmer he seemed, distant, yes, but serene in a way that felt new. When one journalist asked if he had listened to Via Condati, he smiled gently and replied, "Maybe I did. Maybe it helped me remember what silence sounds like." That line became legendary. It was quoted everywhere, on fan pages, in music articles, even as captions under romantic edits. Because for the millions who followed his journey, it wasn't just about a love story. It was about two people learning to let go while the world refused to let them. But fate had one more quiet gesture in store. During a charity concert months later, Sara returned to the stage unexpectedly. She looked different, lighter, calmer, radiant in a simple white dress. When the lights dimmed, she addressed the audience softly, "This song is for anyone who ever loved in silence." And then, for the first time since its release, she sang Via Condati live. Her voice trembled slightly during the bridge, especially on the line, "You left your echo on the street where we said nothing." In the front row, a familiar figure was seen standing near the exit, Yaman. He didn't try to hide. He didn't walk to the stage. He just stood there, hands in pockets, listening. When the song ended, Sara looked up and smiled in his direction, not with sadness, but with gratitude. He nodded once, quietly, and left before the applause ended. The next morning, no paparazzi photos appeared. No gossip sites reported drama. There were no angry headlines or cryptic captions. Only one subtle change: Viaondi was updated on Spotify with a small note in the credits, dedicated to the one who understood. That single line broke every fan's heart. Because in the end, it was never about who was right or wrong, who left or stayed. It was about timing, pride, and the fragile beauty of something that almost worked. They had loved, fiercely, imperfectly, humanly, and the world had witnessed the echo of that love in one haunting melody. Today, when people walk down Viaondi, they often hear street performers singing Sara's song. The lyrics float through the Roman air, soft and bittersweet. Tourists don't know the story behind it, but locals do. They whisper that somewhere, in another corner of the city, Ken still walks alone some evenings, quietly humming that same tune. Because no matter how far you go, some songs never leave you. And Viaondi, like their story, will forever remain one of those songs.